Hey everyone, what's going on? Hopefully I'm working. Hopefully we're not lagging. I tried doing this on the other computer. It's got a better camera, but it won't let me use the camera. It's always something. Good? Hey, Roadkill. What's going on? Manuel, Michael, Mopar Nut. What's going on, guys? Just getting situated here. Hopefully don't take too long. Fun day in paradise. What's the weather like where everybody is? Right here it is cold, damp, and cloudy. Hales, what's going on? Good to see you guys in here tonight. Awesome. So who wants to start? Tell me about your project. Any one of your projects. Where you're at on it. Or where you would like to be. Either way. Snow. Snow in New Jersey. I guess they got hit pretty good in the Northeast. Not far from here, there's the snow up north. Icy in Tennessee. Okay. So I'm debating what I want to do this weekend on the van. But we'll get to that in a bit. Trunk pan welded in the 71 Charger. So what are you waiting on anything in particular, Mopar Nut, or just the resources or the time? Manual, you are on a VW Bug. You're still new bodywork, really rusty, changing panels. Are you doing any of the structural stuff on it, or is it just the external panels? Quarter panels, fenders, doors, stuff like that? Good deal. Good deal. I know in those VW Bugs, a lot of times they have rust where I guess it's the heater piping goes along the floors and goes up to the front. You got any problems with that one on yours? Oh, the door skin swap on the A body. So. Michael has the 87 Ram D150 318. A 71 318 distributor, 77 Carter 2-barrel. Manual says that's where it rusted. So yeah, that's what I figured. I had a friend that had I want to say it was a 67, and the car looked perfect if it on his. So you had to get some new panels there. Roadkill has housework fixed. Yeah, I did that a while back. Well, I haven't got the gutters on the garage yet. We had to rebuild the overhangs, the eaves, and the last foot and a half underneath the shingles they had used chipboard, and they didn't have a trim edge on it, so the water would go in and saturated and it all rotted out. And it had been rotted out for years, and I finally got around to putting new board in there and the new fascia, so we just need to put new gutters on it. It doesn't really need it, but you might as well put it on, get all watered down. Manual 92 is Manual. You're not in the United States, are you? Aren't you like in Mexico or something? Because you say 92. I know they still made the bugs for a long time. Like I think here like 80. Well, maybe it's like 77 was the last year. 78. Okay, so you guys got some good plans going on. Maybe if we all get another stimulus check, we can splurge a little bit. Hopefully you don't have to make up anything. Okay, Yucatan, Mexico. My answer. Yeah, we had to rebuild pretty much all of that from scratch. I think it was 20, the side of the garage. We did both sides, 25. It was weird. It was 25 feet and 1 inch on both sides. So we had to do the 6-inch fascia board and about a little over 50 feet of that. 50 feet of the plywood that was, I think, about 12 inches wide. And then we did plywood underneath the shingles. Even on my carport here on the side of the house, I had a little bit of that rot on it, but just in the corner, so we had to replace that. And it's all waiting on a, well, that needs a fascia board, but it needs gutters more than anything really now. And there's John Woodworth. Personally, he blames squirrels. I feel somewhat honored that John decides to come here and grace us with his presence, for he seems to be more universally known as a Uncle Tony friendly troll. Thanks, John. Not good on ladders. Well, you get a couple ladders and put a scaffold on it for the walk board. We used to do that. Thank you, Manuel. So if y'all want to know what's going on with the van, I actually did the original thumbnail for this chat, but it was really blurry, so I just went ahead and put the logo on it. But I got a pair of idler arms. Yes, the vans have 2 idler arms on them. 1 Pitman, 2 idler arms. Had to order those, and I will say, if you get Pitman arms for these old Chryslers, at least for the vans, they don't look too different from what the cars use. Rock Auto will definitely be the place to go. Napa had the AC Delco brand for like $30 each. Well, I looked on Rock Auto thinking, well, they're probably not that much different, but I'll get it shipped here quicker. And they was about $15 each. Exact same ones. So I did that. Also ordered 2, an upper and a lower radiator hose. We got to replace all the rubber on that thing since it's set for so long. So I got those. They're ready to put on. My videos are very specific, and they're like a show. They're like 30, 40 minutes, and it's all about that one project. Maybe too tedious sometimes, but I do have enough material. I could probably put together a random vignette video like the water pump and several other kind of small things that are going on together. So. Well, the ones they got for the van are greasable. They got the fittings in them. Well, that's good. And they look like the ones that belong to cars. They kind of drop down. They got a little curve to them. The ones that are in the van are straight, but they have the same dip. I think they'll work just the same. I actually looked at the one on the Duster, and it looks pretty much like the ones that the van have. See, the van, you have the pitman arm underneath the steering box, and it has I guess the drag link, and it's got a fitting on it, which is crazy. You get all these big, like the center link on it is got the two holes that are empty, and it's got another hole on the other end that empty. Then it has a fitting on one, or a joint, which just is crazy. But all that seemed pretty tight. Just the two pitman arms have so much play that you can actually grab the drag link and lift it up and shake both idler arms around on it. So I figured if I change anything on demand, it'll be the two pitmans pieces. The boots on them are the blue grade or whatever. And I've seen MoveTech quite a bit. I think I've used MoveTech on that. I think that Duster I had. Yeah, PST. Michael, I thought about it. I don't know. I have an AM FM radio that I put in it that's actually I've had kicking around here. It actually, when I bought my Challenger, heck, it was like 16 years ago, I bought that car. It had an old AM FM from the 70s in it. And I took it out and put a CD player. And what's cool about the E-bodies is CD players fit perfectly in there without having to cut the actual face of the dash. The radio came out of it. It was a Motorola AM FM stereo. I put it away, and when I got this van, I thought, well, maybe I ought to dig that out, pull it out, and it fit in there really good. As far as 8-track, I don't know. Since I had that radio, I might just kind of pass on it this time, but I have had cars that I have put in there. Funniest story about an 8-track was it was at the time I had the Challenger. I had several jobs going during that time period, but one of them I did on the side. I had some friends that had a trash business where they would, what they call it, sanitation, and they would need help with people during the summer, which summer is awful for it. But it was good money to do it on the side. And I was with one of the guys one day, and we was going back kind of in a rural area around here. And you dump it, and it was straight trash. Oh, this is people's garbage. That's what it was. But sometimes you throw a can in there, and it looked like it was all dusty, and it looked like somebody was cleaning out their garage. And so I dumped this thing in there, and all this dust goes everywhere, and it made an odd, crashing sound. And I pulled the can back, and the dust settled, and I looked, and there was a bunch of 8-track tapes in there, and there was an 8-track car mount 8-track player sitting down in there. I was looking at the tapes, and the tapes were all pretty roached. So I thought, well, let's take this home, the player, the radio itself. And I did. It was free. Took it home, hooked it up, and sure enough, it worked. I had some old 8-tracks. I stuck in it. They worked. So I put it in the Challenger, and when I would go to car shows, I would stuff an 8-track in it, and I had it running off the battery. So you could have an 8-track in there just playing away, and people would look in there, and they would see that thing in there with the light on, and it would be, emitting sound, and you could always see people, even if I was on the other side of the parking lot, I would see people pointing at it and kind of having a laugh, so that was pretty cool. Now you talk about the suspension or the steering parts. Rock Auto had some of them on there. Now I don't know how good they were. I can't remember what brand it said they was, but they had some for $7 each, and there was nothing near that on Napa. So I thought, well, the ones I got, they was considered, they had the label daily driver quality. So I thought, well, that's what I need. So paid a little more. They're Delco. Mm-hmm. Craig. Craig, I think, ended up being Pioneer, or maybe they was intertwined somehow. Sparkomatic 8-track player. See, what's funny, John, is that it's more humorous to see one of those in a vehicle that would never have had it otherwise. So, 2004. I had you say Sparkomatic. I had a friend. He had a 72 satellite Sebring, slant 6, no radio, at least an original radio, rubber floor mats. The only option on it was the automatic transmission, I guess, unless that was just standard. And he bought a GTX parts car. He was going to make a Roadrunner out of it. And the GTX had 2 Sparkomatic speakers in there. Had the orange rings in them. He kept them and put them in the satellite. And I mean, this is like 2000, 2001. And they really good speakers. Tony Orlando and Dawn. Well, growing up, we had 8-tracks, so I was pretty familiar with them. I had a stereo that had one, had a cassette, a record player, and then the front had a slot you could play your 8-tracks in. And what was cool about it, you could stick an 8-track in there and put a cassette in and record whatever the 8-track or the record player was playing, so you can make copies real easy. Hey, Roadkill, do you have a tester, or are you doing does it have the key thing where you hit it like 6 times and it starts flashing SOS codes? Tails, that's pretty cool. An add-on 8-track player. I had a box of 8-tracks one time when I had that in the car. And it was hilarious because I got a box just full of all kinds of random ones, and it even had a cassette adapter, so it looked like an 8-track player but longer, and you can lay a cassette inside the center of it. You plug it in there, and it had a fast forward and like a stop switch. That's the only control I had on it, and it worked. But it was sometimes you'd catch and it wouldn't do anything. You'd have to sit there and jiggle it and pull it out of the radio and all this stuff. It was funny. Actually, I think I have one. Yeah, there we go. Look at this. I dug this out the other day. It's funny you asked about the 8-track. I dug it out the other day because this one is shot. There's no tape in it. But I thought for photo op purposes, take the label off and make a Hoosier Garage one and put like the tracks on the back of all the stuff that we do and all that stuff. Have it on disc players. Yeah. Well, the radio, and this isn't an 8-track, but the radio that I put in the van, like I said, it came from a Challenger I had years ago, and I just kept it because I thought, well, it's a nice radio. It's kind of vintage, got chrome knobs on it. When you're, I think, on the FM side, the Motorola logo lights up. And I thought, well, that's kind of different. It's not so plain. I kept it, and I looked it up here, and it turns out it's a 1972 built radio. So I thought, oh, well, it'll go into the 72 van. So. Yeah. You can catch up what Tails has going here. They gave you the 8-track. Okay, for the CUDA, yeah. Yeah, that'd be kind of a cool. I think I drive some of the guys know. I mean, the motor in the van, it was an Army fleet vehicle, so the Army, the motor pool, like probably rebuilt it multiple times. It's got fresh push rods in it, and it's extremely clean inside. I mean, you could see everything, and there's no black on it. It's just like the natural kind of bronze color that it has after you have oil through it, and it's on the metal and all that. So it looks really clean. So I'm not gonna mess with it. I'm rebuilding the carburetor. We'll do that soon. 2-barrel, and it really hasn't been touched otherwise. So I don't see any reason poking around with, especially when I'm just going to drive it. Now the Duster, we can go in any different direction with that. So we can wait on that. But this is all just general having fun, accessories, restoration, mechanical work. That's what this is all about at the moment. We'll get into periods where there'll be more of the engine than the body work, obviously. So. I've seen people do that with the Bluetooth. I've seen them take the old AM radios, especially, and do like the factory AM radios. Like, you even wonder what you could do inconspicuously with one of these. Like, if you had an 8-track, say you did that, you did the Bluetooth conversion on an 8-track radio, and then what could you do with with an actual tape that was like a dummy tape? You put something else in it, or even like a USB on the end, and then you have an iPod or something that slips in it. Just something crazy, or use some kind of a security feature where it's laying. It looks like it's laying there, but really you would open it up and there have some kind of switch under it, just to throw people off. It'd be kind of weird. I think I had one of those cleaners too. It was just like that, but it had like a paper ribbon or something in it. You put alcohol on. Only one station. Now I got a video on the channel here. Now I had uploaded it 10 years ago on my old channel. But it was in that '73 Duster, and put an amplifier, like a 2-channel amplifier, under the seat. Ran an RCA cable off of it with a headphone jack, and just ran the 2 channels to the rear speakers. Wired it up like you're supposed to, and it would activate when you turn the iPod on, and then you can hide the iPod, and it looked like I still had an AM radio on the dash, and nothing looked different, but really good stereo. And the AM worked in the one I had, the California car, and the AM worked pretty good. It would pull in stations pretty good, especially at night. Tails, you're kind of like me. You like to go to great distances to keep yourself from having to put something in there that looks new, you know, because it looks more aesthetic with the old stuff in an old car. Roadkill, yeah. I mean, you could do that. Just go back to I think it was a custom iPod. Let me look it up. I got it on the other computer here. It was an old video, and I re-uploaded it to this page because it was more useful on this page. It was earlier in the year. It's like one of my throwback videos or something. Let's see. Okay, the title is Stealthy Audio slash Phone Options in Classic Cars. 9 months ago. And I kind of had a weird, like an AM system that I bought, which worked, but really the highlight of that video is just hooking up if you buy yourself an amplifier, hook it up, wire it to the battery, and then wire it to the ignition. And they just have the red and white RCA cable plug into it. And then it's the Y-shaped one that has a headphone jack on the end. Plug that one into your phone or your iPod or whatever it is you use, MP3 of some sort. And then you could adjust your levels with it, and it would just boom right there. Just hook it up to whatever speakers you got. Yeah, the glove box is very common for those. Yeah, that was on that purple Duster I had. The thumbnail says classic car audio, and it shows me adjusting and holding an iPod. Could try to link it. Let's see if I can pull the link up, and you can see it a little better that way. That's what I said 9 months ago. There it is. And I think on the old video, people, the real audio geeks, they was picking around about it. Well, you got to do this, or you're not be able to get your levels right, or something. I don't know. I was like, the bass sounded good, the treble was good, the mid range was good, and it sounded good. So I was happy with it. Yeah. Now on the vans, I've noticed a lot of guys, they'll have like I have the overhead console, they'll have the CD in it. Sometimes sometimes on one side or the other, they'll have a CD player in it. They use a remote control to operate it, and then they'll have an old school 8-track or AM/FM in the dash because you have so much more room to kind of expand on. Plus, when they have the CD player up there, if they're camping out in the back of it, parked somewhere, they can use the remote to play everything. And it hits it better. Signal. Yeah, and then if you have like Mopar says, you have 3-inch exhaust with headers, you know. But that's why I always ran glass packs because the sound's like right there under you until you get on it, and then it goes out the back. Mitch, I have a CD radio. Actually, if you look in the, let's see. I got a Cobra 29. What do you call it? It's a weather night version, so you get all the graphics on it. It's actually a really nice radio. I need to get all the stuff for the wiring on it. Let's see. Now that link there is for part 2 of the console build, and you'll see the console. The record player. Yeah, they even I know somebody they bought a '67 Dart 2-door. I think it was a Dart GT. They had them in '67, but they bought one brand new and it had the record player that made occasionally you hit a pothole or something hard enough it would skip it, but otherwise it was really smooth. John, we're gonna do a basically modified steel wheels, so they look like factory, steelies, but the rears will be 15 by 10s, and the fronts I'm thinking they'll probably be a 7 or an 8, maybe an 8. If I can get away with an 8, I'm gonna do an 8, but I got to figure out what backspace I'm gonna use. I think you got to go 3.5 or 4 inches on that. I'm not sure. But the 15 by 10 is the ones you can get. It's a Mopar Series 63 through Wheel Vintiques. And that's the ones like that you would put on a B-body Mopar or even an E-body. They're the ones that are backspace for those, but it actually is perfect for the van as well. Tails, that's pretty cool. If you have a picture of that, I'd like to see it because I like seeing stuff like that. It just looks cool. Yeah, I like when they stick out a little bit. I think it depends on the car. 2-inch back spacing, and they stuck out way too far. It always looked like when he was going down the road, it looked like it was ready to come out. They stuck out this far. I thought that was too much. I always on like a Duster, like the Duster I've got. Whenever I do that one, I want the tire, like the white or the bulge out of the tire. I would like that to be either flush or it can be just a hair beyond it. I like them when they look like that. Now on the van, I think that the way they, and I forgot the backspace on that one. I think it's 5 inches. It would put the face of the tire, right even with the lip. And I don't have flares on it. It'll be just the stock side. So it's about flush with it. But it'll look quite a bit more impressive than the little 5.5-inch wheels it has on it now, or 6-inch, whatever they are. Oh, by the way, you're talking about the shirts and all that stuff. I've been getting a lot of business on that page the last 2 weeks, and some of you, thank you for buying. Some of you got Mopar Nuts Charger, and then there was a bunch of other ones that sold too, like a little bit of a variety. So thank you all for that, if that's any of you guys. And hopefully in the future we can just add, and we'll have like a cool collection. And then I think with all 10 of the vehicles, and get stickers. We'll give away the whole kit. Center lines, yep. Now the Duster, so I don't particularly care for those on a Duster, and they're too narrow anyway, so I'll probably get rid of them. Plus, I want to go big bolt. Tails, I was thinking about that the other day. Bias wise, and they was like, I think those are the best looking tires ever. The lettering on them went almost all the way around. It was kind of a Western style, and it had that just that old school tread on it. And I wanted a pair of those on the back, or matching all the way around. But right about the time I was getting ready to buy some for my Duster, that's when they said no, they discontinued, and the price went way up on what people had in their overstock. I thought, well, that might be good because they was bias ply, and I was used to radials, but I wish they would just make something like that in a radial that looked exactly like it, because they make the Nicky Thompson like a muscle car tire, but the lettering's totally different. The tread's kind of wild, but it'd just be neat if they did something like that. Yeah, that's what the center lines I got. They're the, what do they call them? I don't know if that's the American Racing name. They had that similar one of Outlaw 1, Outlaw 2, or what the center line version was called. But yeah, it's just got the little buttons all the way around. It's flat. Even when it gets this time of year, I'm gonna undercoat it obviously and do outside of putting like some kind of all-terrain regular tire on. I would probably put like a Cooper Cobra or a BFG or a what's the other one? The Firehawk Indy 500 wheel or tire, Firestone. One of those, the kind of the typical ones. The only ones that are left, really. Yeah. I don't want to spend a bunch of money on tires that I don't have to spend, because tires are cool, but they have a job to do, and they're kind of a use item anyway. So. Yeah, Mitch talks about the A bodies. Now, when I had the 73 Duster, I got a little scared and did not get a 10-inch rear Krager. I got an 8, I think it was 8 or 8.5 inch. I want to say 8.5 inch Krager. And it had 2 1/4 inch back spacing, which you think sounds crazy, but it gave the same face on it. Like where the quarter panel come down, it was flush with that. But I could have actually went the extra 1.5 inch or so towards the spring, would have been fine. And the fronts, they were 15s too, but I had to be real careful, because if you weren't, the size of the tire you got end up rub on the fender. Yeah, and 295.50. That's what'll be on the back of the van, and hopefully we can do that on the Duster too. Because I'd had that on the Camaro that I had, and I really liked it. They looked awesome. So, and you had pretty good traction too once they was warm. Yeah, and they were Cooper Cobras too. Yeah, and I looked up Uniroyal Tiger Paws. I don't know unless they make those anymore either. So I was considering that. Goodyear Eagles, they're totally different. They don't make those sizes. I don't. Well, I didn't get 50s on the front. I had 60s on the front, and you had to be careful with that because I had a two. I think it was 255, and I thought that would have fit on the front because the Camaros, they have that subframe, and you have like massive wheel wells in the front, but they would the height was just too much on it, so you had to get like a 235 and down because it would it would actually rub the wheel well, that covered a lot of the tire. It was crazy. So I actually had some, put them on there, and they rubbed, and I sold them and had to go down to 235, I think. Yeah, 255 was way too big. Now, when I had the Challenger, I had 8-inch keystones on it, and I had a 275 tire in the back. And I had to, the wheel lips on those they're real deep. Like on a Duster, they're like this. Well, on a Challenger, they're real wide. So I had to I had to roll it a little bit, because you go down the road and you hit a little wave in the pavement, and they would into here like that. Yeah, light trim. Yeah. Kind of got the pizza cutter tires in front. Yeah, I don't know how the 50s on the front. I guess you can go fairly wide and not be a problem. One of my friends that had the GTX, he had a 71 GTX. When he bought it, it had air shocks in the back and 275 tires. 60. It was it wasn't a Magna 500. I can't remember the name of them. Maybe it was Game War 500 wheels. It had five big holes on it. Well, they had them in the front too, and they had 255s on the front, but they had cranked up the torsion bars on those. So the car set level, had air shocks in the back, set it up a little bit. It wasn't ridiculous. It set it up even in the back, even in the front. But you could tell the front of that car was a bit higher, and it looked mean. It looked cool. But yeah, the air Mopar nut. I did in my Duster. I did the gasket windshield in that one. I did it on a really hot, humid day with a can of WD-40. But I got it in there and it sealed up really good. Tails, you take it easy, buddy. Have a good night. Thanks for checking out and hanging out with us. Few cars Mopars that I did. If I wanted the back end up, which I usually and get over the springs that were over arced, like you can get 1 inch or 2 inch, or the super stock springs. Well, super stock springs they're adjusted higher on the one side for launch. But if you just get the regular over arced springs, they're like a 5-leaf spring, and it'll set real high the first week, like probably 2 inches too high. But after a week, it'll settle, and you get that air shock look without actually having air shocks. And they ride really nice. They don't ride rough or anything. 255, 60, yeah. I would even think the Charger 68 Charger had maybe a little bit bigger wheel wells width-wise than even the 71 GTX, because you know how those Plymouth V bodies, that line that comes off the fender and then rolls back in. so it might even make it smaller there. Gimme dart style. Yeah, come that far above where they are now. Now, Mopar nut, I saw one guy, he had a dart swinger, and he was trying to get like an extra half inch or quarter inch. And I think what he did, he split the wheel well, about 90% of the wheel well, where it's kind of like the directly over the tire. And then he kind of split the bottom to where it would have more movability. And then he actually pushed the quarter panel out about 3/8 of an inch, I think. And then he welded a strip in there and kind of mini tubbed it in a way, but without all the extra work. And when you look down the side of the car, you really couldn't tell that it was bulged out any. It was, a good 3/8 of an inch, but it was real slick, and he got quite a bit wider tire in there. But I can't remember all the details of what he did. And I think he rolled the lip under there too. Not that there was much of one in it. 'Who was giving away free darts? And do they still have any left? A little bit. I've kind of put it on the driver's side, and let me know what you want to see this coming week. Do you want to see another block party extension, basically doing the driver's side, or do you want to see a little mechanical stuff like radiator hoses, top and bottom, and then the idler arms? I could probably get them done, and a couple other little odds and ends. Maybe even get into the carburetor. $1,200, yeah, that's what I paid for mine. And I paid that because I felt like they was like getting away from me. So I'm like, well, it's a 72, and I might as well pay 1,200 and put it away for a while, and then I'll get to it, next year. But as far as the back vent on the van, I'm just kind of letting that hang right now. We'll see. I need to figure out what to do with the interior of the back part. I kind of have an idea, but well, what amazes me about some of you guys, like Lunar and Moparna, you're one, and even you, Roadkill, you got a handful of cars. I've never been one to have multiple project cars or specialty cars. Um, at one time when I had the Challenger, I had a 73 Dart that I drove around every day, and it was just a driver car, But it wasn't one of my little pets or anything like that. So when I got this Duster, after doing the van for a few months, it kind of drives me nuts because I'm like, it's sitting back there, and I have a hard time dividing too much attention. And I feel like I'm watering the whole thing down when I'm putting a little here and putting a little there. I have to focus on one thing. Now I'll do multiple projects on a project, car, vehicle, whatever. You see that by the videos, but waterbed, yeah. Talk about weight. Well, I think I'll keep it simple. In the back part, since it's a shorty van, you can't put too much space in there. But if you open those side doors, typically on that left side of you where the wheel well starts to the back, they sometimes put a partition there, and they will put a bed back there. But I'm thinking I want to keep it usable as like a truck on certain level. Like if I go to the swap meet and they have a rear end, and I want to be able to get it home, I can like kind of modularize it to where it'll work as a truck and not get grease all over all the nice stuff. You know what I mean? So like maybe put that partition in there and put a seat in there. But if I don't need the seat, I'll take it out, and that back quarter section of it will be, you can use it as a truck. And then if you go to the swap meet, you get a bunch of stuff that isn't dirty, messy. You can lay it in the middle. So I want to be able to use it as a truck / van, but not just completely turn it into a hotel room or something like that, like a bedroom or something. Because then it's just nowhere to start, or I'd be getting like some kind of anxiety. Like the other ones, they're good. They're getting away from me, that kind of thing. Well, a lot of cases they'll do that rear section will be a bed, and then there'll be like drawers. You can put drawers underneath it, and then you can swing it up, or you can do without the drawers, and it'll just be like a stand, or it'll be an empty underneath. And you can swing it up on a hinge and then latch it, and that way you'll have a space. I did see Amazon. You can buy shag carpet on Amazon, like it's like in a floor area rug. That's right, area rug, and they have it in orange. And I think it was like a 6 by 8 foot section that would actually fit perfectly in that van and give you just enough to trim, and then like pictures and Mopar magazine or old car. I got some old Carcraft magazines right here. Take it to the car show and give out stickers and stuff like that. Just have fun with it. Oh, the fireplace, yeah. Somebody's got a GMC that's got one in the back, like where the rear doors are. Like they're completely non-functional now, but they put a fireplace in it and it works. It's got the vent and everything. It's crazy. It's like that's just too much for me. The mags, which one? Oh, the magazines, yeah. Yeah, and back at the Mopar swap meet back in March in Indianapolis, right before the coronavirus knocked everything out. It was like the last thing we got to go to. This one guy had a booth. He had all kinds of Mopar parts, but the thing he had most of was magazines. And I was going through. I said, "How much for the magazines?" He was like 3 for $1 or something like that. So I bought a handful of them. And most of those had the van. I was trying to find ideas for the vans, so that's kind of what I was focused on that day. So, the bar, yeah. So many of them have bars, like almost all of them have bars in them. There you go. Well, and the thing about the vans that I've figured out, like that, you say 85. When you get into the ones in the 70s, they're just like so. They're like big old B bodies. They're built with like B body parts, and the dashes look like Yep. Well, they were the most popular ones to use as the chassis for the RVs, or the small family RVs that you'd see. You still see them today everywhere. People's driveways, like they would take the front cab section and the engine compartment, and it'd be the whole underneath the chassis for one of those Dodges, mainly through the 70s. And then they would, a lot of the coach builders and all that, they would build their RV sections on top of those. And it was usually the 300, the B 300 chassis, so it was like a full ton truck basically. But they was the most popular because they was the most adaptable, and then Dodge was the most cooperative with those makers. So that was interesting to find that out. That's why most of them are Dodges, if you never noticed that. I think it wasn't until the 80s that you started, the Fords kind of became more of the transition. Mopar Joe, no. Yeah, that stuff didn't hold color very well. Unless it was in a van and then the van had tinted windows or something. But yeah, you put it in a window in the sun. The one fellow I've been buying some parts off of, he has an interesting collection. They're basically like maybe 3 estates worth of hordes of Mopar parts, and he doesn't know really where to begin as far as organizing them. Because I went in there early in the year and bought some stuff, and he gave me a few things, and then when I was there a couple of weeks ago getting that steering stuff, it hadn't changed much. He's like, I don't know where to start. Like the guy would take stuff apart and then put it in piles, and they weren't organized piles. They were just rough piles of like all the pulleys were put in one pile, and then all the windshield wipers were put in one pile. And he'll find good stuff in there. Like he just hasn't been through it all yet, so he might have some gold in there. That's why he keeps saying, "I'm looking for gold." That's cool. Funky van. Guys, I think I'm going to wrap it up for the night. Uh, Sit down for a bit and not do anything, which I need to not do anything because my hand is bothering me. I don't know if I'm getting carpal tunnel right there or what. I need to give it a break because I'm just like all day, every day. So Yeah, that 72 I cut up a while back. There wasn't much left of it, really. I got some stuff on it. A lot of the basics was just gone too. So, but we made it worth it. We kind of put the buffalo away like it should have been. You keep everything you can, bolts, nuts, all that. All right, guys, I'm going to take off. Thanks for joining us on the chat. It's been a good hour and 5 minutes, and watch out for the next video. On the last video, if you want to give me an idea what you'd like to see next week, I'm open. Whether y'all want to see some mechanical stuff like the front end, some of that, or just want to see the more block sanding, get a little bit closer to paint. Just drop your opinion in there. Love to hear it. So y'all take care.